top.
Right.
Yeah, like
say.
the closest thing that I can think of having seen the film now
It had to do with, the brilliance of Blake Lively and being able to act with this powerhouse.
Blake Lively is now facing explosive claims that she may have crossed a serious and potentially career-altering line in Hollywood. According to multiple insiders, she allegedly leaked highly sensitive Sony HR complaints involving her co-star Justin Baldoni in what is being described as a calculated and desperate effort to derail his career. Instead of delivering the devastating blow she may have intended, the move appears to have detonated in her own hands. Rather than ending Baldoni's career, the alleged leak has placed Blake herself under an unforgiving spotlight. Her actions are now being dissected relentlessly, with mounting questions surrounding her intent, judgment, and credibility. What was expected to function as a decisive strike has instead triggered an uncontrollable media inferno, fueling rampant speculation, scandal, and industry-wide shockwaves. At the same time, Baldoni is reportedly capitalizing on the chaos, forcefully flipping the narrative by producing material that bolsters his innocence while actively dismantling the allegations made against him. What began quietly as an internal HR issue has morphed into a stunning public reversal, leaving Hollywood stunned and closely monitoring every new development. The fallout has sparked urgent conversations about betrayal, power manipulation, and the reckless dangers of weaponizing confidential complaints. As the situation evolves, it is becoming increasingly evident that what was meant to destroy someone else's career may instead be spiraling into Blake's worst professional nightmare. Meanwhile, Baldoni's measured composure amid the storm is rapidly reshaping public perception, positioning him as an unlikely but emerging victor in a scandal that continues to polarize Hollywood. Commentator Osters Freeman insists the truth lies within the documents themselves, arguing that Blake Lively exploited her influence, as the controversy surrounding the alleged HR leaks tied to Justin Baldoni takes an even darker and more disturbing turn. Fresh accusations claim that several confidential complaints submitted to Sony Pictures accused Baldoni of inappropriate conduct during the production of It Ends With Us. At first glance, these reports appeared to validate Blake Lively's claims of a toxic work environment. However, Baldoni's team swiftly rejected that narrative, asserting the documents are part of a deliberate smear operation allegedly coordinated by Blake's camp, an allegation her publicist categorically denies. Still, glaring inconsistencies within the claims have only intensified skepticism. Most notably, critics are asking why these supposed complaints were never mentioned in Blake's official legal filings against Baldoni if they were legitimate. That omission has pushed the authenticity of the documents into serious question, particularly after they surfaced abruptly across social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram. Images purporting to be official HR records spread at lightning speed online, coinciding suspiciously with reports that Blake was preparing to file an expanded lawsuit. The timing has raised significant alarm, suggesting the leak may have been strategically deployed to sway public opinion, deepening doubts about the document's true origin. The alleged source of the leak only heightened suspicion, with rumors pointing to someone connected to a Sony employee, a murky chain of hearsay that strongly implies an inside operation. Anyone familiar with standard HR procedures knows legitimate complaints are tightly protected and do not appear on social media. This alone makes the leak feel less like transparency and more like a targeted weapon. That perception was reinforced when Sony issued immediate and unequivocal denials, confirming to Variety that no HR complaints against Justin Baldoni exist in their records. Put plainly, the company supposedly responsible for managing these complaints says they never existed. That revelation sends up massive red flags regarding the document's legitimacy and has fueled speculation that they may be fabricated. Sources close to the situation have highlighted additional anomalies, including the complete removal of all dates, an extraordinary and highly suspicious detail that prevents any verification of when or if the complaints were ever filed. To many experts, this looks like intentional obfuscation, prompting the obvious question, why erase dates unless there is something to hide? As scrutiny intensifies, the material increasingly resembles a manufactured effort to ignite chaos rather than evidence of a genuine grievance process. Sony's position remains unambiguous. They authorized no disclosure and possess no records, leaving only two explosive possibilities. Either confidential documents were illegally obtained and misused, or the files were entirely fabricated, both scenarios carrying catastrophic consequences. Legal analysts warn that if Blake Lively or anyone associated with her orchestrated this leak, she may have crossed into extremely dangerous legal territory. Leaking or fabricating HR documents is not merely unethical. It can violate confidentiality laws, privacy protections, and potentially constitute fraud or defamation if used to falsely implicate someone. Such actions could trigger lawsuits, industry-wide blacklisting, and irreversible career damage. Industry whispers suggest Sony is already paying close attention, with insiders reporting mounting concern over severe legal repercussions. Sony is known for responding aggressively to breaches of sensitive corporate information. Meanwhile, Baldoni's camp appears anything but shaken. Armed with Sony's formal denial and the document's internal contradictions, they are aggressively reframing the situation as proof of a coordinated smear campaign. In this dramatic reversal, Baldoni is increasingly viewed not as an aggressor, but as the target of a calculated attack, an outcome that has only intensified backlash against Blake. What may have been intended to obliterate Justin Baldoni's career now appears to have imploded, dealing a devastating blow to Blake's credibility and setting the stage for a brutal legal and reputational war that could redefine both of their careers. Her alleged strategy to undermine Baldoni has collapsed in spectacular fashion, leaving her facing accusations of deception and evidence manipulation rather than strengthening her case. The move that was supposed to be fatal has instead branded her as calculating and manipulative. As Baldoni grows more resolute in his counteroffensive, the HR complaints meant to support claims of a toxic set environment have only generated more doubt. His attorney, Brian Friedman, has publicly emphasized glaring red flags, including suspicious redactions such as blacked-out dates that make the reports unverifiable. He has labeled the leak a deliberate setup and made it clear that Baldoni's team is actively investigating its source, demanding accountability. Friedman has gone further, alleging the documents were part of a personal smear campaign driven by Blake's camp. Rather than retreating, Baldoni has escalated, preparing his own legal actions and launching a counterstrike designed to expose the truth and turn the tables. What could have ended his career has instead become a legal battlefield where Blake now finds herself under siege. This HR controversy marks the latest escalation in a feud that has been simmering for months. Tensions reportedly began during the filming of It Ends With Us, where Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, both co-stars and creative partners, were rumored to be clashing behind the scenes. By the film's August 2024 premiere, the fractures were impossible to ignore. Baldoni avoided joint interviews, skipped red carpet appearances with Blake, and remained surrounded by family, fueling speculation that communication between them had completely broken down. The situation detonated publicly in December 2024 when Blake filed a legal complaint accusing Baldoni of unprofessional and disturbing behavior, including claims that he entered her trailer without consent and made inappropriate comments. She portrayed him as toxic and impossible to work with, further alleging that Baldoni and his producing partner launched a smear campaign against her after filming concluded. Blake positioned herself as a victim of harassment and retaliation, casting Baldoni as a manipulative antagonist. Baldoni refused that narrative. Within days, he released evidence directly contradicting her claims. One of Blake's most serious accusations centered on a dance rehearsal she suggested involved unwanted advances. Baldoni's team responded by releasing behind-the-scenes footage that told a dramatically different story, instantly shifting public perception. The footage showed Blake joking about getting spray tan on Baldoni, with him laughing and responding casually. Rather than the predatory scenario described in legal filings, the video depicted relaxed, playful interaction. Each attempt by Blake to assert a new narrative was met with receipts from Baldoni, systematically eroding her claims. As the conflict spilled into the media, coverage exploded. What began as a private dispute became headline news, with Blake's credibility steadily unraveling under scrutiny. Baldoni, by contrast, projected calm, consistency, and transparency, gaining sympathy as someone increasingly viewed as targeted rather than guilty. Now, as his counteroffensive accelerates, the scandal threatens to backfire catastrophically on Blake. Instead of destroying Baldoni's career, her reliance on leaks and allegations appears to be dismantling her own reputation. Public opinion is shifting rapidly, with many questioning her motives, methods, and the truth behind one of Hollywood's most vicious feuds. The conflict escalated further when the New York Times published an investigative piece amplifying Blake's accusations. Rather than crippling Baldoni, it triggered his most aggressive response yet, a $250 million defamation lawsuit accusing the paper of distortion and manipulation. Taking on one of the world's most powerful media institutions sent a clear signal. Baldoni was not hiding. He was ready to fight publicly and legally. That confidence only deepened doubts about Blake's narrative. Even before lawsuits were filed, gossip columns circulated allegations of misconduct, which Baldoni's team claims were deliberately planted by Blake's publicist, Judy Sloan. One rumor alleged multiple HR complaints, claims now under severe scrutiny. Criticism also extended to Ryan Reynolds, whose behavior at the SNL 50th anniversary event was widely condemned as ill-timed and tone-deaf. Friedman's blunt reaction, "Ouch," captured industry sentiment. The consequences have only escalated. Baldoni has now filed a staggering $400 million countersuit against Blake and Reynolds, accusing them of defamation and civil extortion. At the heart of the suit is the allegation that they attempted to destroy his career through coercion and false claims. If substantiated, the fallout could be catastrophic. Each new tactic Blake allegedly deploys, leaked documents, selective recordings, has only worsened perceptions once debunked. Every move intended to damage Baldoni has instead destroyed her credibility. What was meant to be a knockout blow has become an indictment of her conduct, exposing desperation and ethical collapse. Baldoni, meanwhile, appears increasingly vindicated. His transparent approach and relentless documentation have shifted perception decisively in his favor. Far from retreating, he confronted the accusations head-on, reinforcing the belief that he has nothing to hide. The contrast could not be sharper. Blake believed she could end Justin Baldoni's career. Instead, she now faces the consequences of her own tactics as Hollywood watches her carefully constructed image unravel in real time. What was meant to be a ruthless takedown has become a cautionary tale, one where manipulation implodes, deception collapses, and the truth refuses to stay buried.